Martyna Kaczmarek zawitała nas do studia. Dzień dobry, hello.
Dzień dobry, dziękuję za zaproszenie. Jest mi bardzo miło. Widziałam dużo fajnych osób tutaj i cieszę się, że jestem jedną z tych osób.
Podoba się. Ładnie się uśmiecham. To jest dobry początek rozmowy.
Tak.
Cieszę się bardzo, że tutaj jesteś. I dzisiaj będzie o...
Feminizmie. Też. Głównie,
ale...
Też o innych rzeczach.
Temat ci bliski, muszę powiedzieć, że mi również. Jak ja w ogóle tak, wiesz co, patrzę na te rozmowy, które ja mam, gości, których ja też mam. Ostatnio była Maja Staśko, było o feminizmie. Wcześniej była Ama Siekludzka, Julia Kamińska. Te tematy mnie bardzo interesują. Właśnie też oczekiwania względem kobiet na takim społecznym poziomie. Dzisiaj jesteś ty, podobne tematy. Będzie troszkę krytycznie, bo spojrzymy na to wszystko z takiej świeższej perspektywy. Mam takie wrażenie. Ciekawe jest też to, że jak spojrzymy na ratio, czyli taką proporcję moich gości, no to głównie są gościnie. Czy mi się łatwiej rozmawia z kobietami?
Czyli jesteś feministą. Dajesz nam platformę i też głos.
Dokładnie.
To jest fantastyczne. Ale oczywiście o feminizmie powinni też rozmawiać mężczyźni, więc cieszę się też, że jesteś tematem zainteresowanym, bo myślę, że to jest niezwykle ważne, żebyśmy o tym wspólnie rozmawiali i prowadzili dialog.
Od tego zacznijmy, że feminizm nie tyczy tylko kobiet, ale tyczy ogółu społeczeństwa, bo pokutuje takie przekonanie, że dotyczy tylko kobiet. Ale zanim przejdziemy tam, pozwól, że będę dzisiaj trochę gryzł. To była taka mała zapowiedź. Będę trochę gryzł, no bo będzie krytycznie spojrzymy na to z takiej holistycznej perspektywy. I zanim przejdziemy do samego sedna, łączy nas dużo, Martyna.
IB
nas łączy.
Mój narzeczony się śmieje, że jestem po FBI. Tak się śmieje z IB.
IB, czyli International Baccalaureate, matura międzynarodowa.
Nigdy nie wiedziałam, jak to wypowiedzieć.
No ciężkie słowo.
IB po prostu.
Spróbujesz?
Nie. Ja w ogóle nie wiem tego mówić. Ja jestem po IB po prostu.
Zacznijmy od tego. I po polsku. Taka jest idea mojego programu, gdzie przełamuję bariery, ale zacznijmy po polsku. Co ci dało IB? Z takiej długoterminowej perspektywy, jakbyś na to spojrzała?
Myślę, że IB mnie uratowało w ogóle. W kontekście różnic w podejściu do edukacji, że ten polski system sfokusowany tak mocno na pracy takiej odtwórczej i uczeniu się na pamięć rzeczy, stawał się dla mnie coraz trudniejszy właśnie w liceum ze względu też na moje ADHD, że bardzo było mi się trudno skupić na rzeczach, które mnie nie interesowały i nie byłam w stanie też ich doświadczać przez dyskutowanie o nich, przez jakieś takie doświadczanie, tak bardzo jak właśnie jest w IB, nie? I też IB możliwość wyboru przedmiotów, które właśnie rzeczywiście mnie interesują i w ramach których chcę się rozwijać, to też mnie myślę, że uratowało właśnie w związku z ADHD i z tym takim podejściem, że jednak ciężko mi się skupić i naprawdę zainteresować czymś, co jest dla mnie nieciekawe i nie widzę w tym celu. No i myślę sobie też, że wiesz, takiej też wrażliwości społecznej też przez to, że właśnie rozmawialiśmy, że mieliśmy geografię na HL-u, czyli na tym poziomie rozszerzonym, podczas których lekcji dowiedziałam się bardzo dużo na tematy właśnie społeczne, geopolityczne, bo to nie była nauka mapy na pamięć.
Albo o skałach, albo o wulkanach.
Dokładnie, tylko o właśnie zjawiskach społecznych, geopolityce, o nierównościach społecznych i o tych wszystkich indeksach, które też je definiują i jak je czytać i jak je interpretować. I to mi też tak otworzyło bardzo oczy. Więc tak, IB zdecydowanie bardzo pozytywnie oceniam i po tym jak wpadłam po IB w polski system z powrotem, bo studiowałam na SGH po angielsku, bo wybrałam sobie przedmioty po angielsku, miałam taką możliwość, ale nadal to był polski system, to 3-letnie studia licencjackie robiłam 5,5 roku.
Słuchaj, wyciągnęłaś mi z ust wiele rzeczy, które chciałam powiedzieć o IB, bo sam je robiłem i mam swoje doświadczenia, właśnie takie holistyczne spojrzenie na wszystko i z takiej perspektywy bardzo społecznej. Ja przygotowując się do rozmowy dzisiaj zrobiłem sobie taki mały research, porównałem curriculum, czyli podstawy programowe właśnie IB i polskiego systemu w kontekście feminizmu. I feminizm w IB jest nauczany w 4 przedmiotach. TOK, Theory of Knowledge, czyli nauka wiedzy, tak?
Tak, nauka o wiedzy. To był super przedmiot, bo on uczył między innymi umiejętności krytycznego myślenia. I to jest moim zdaniem tak ważna kompetencja, szczególnie dzisiaj w czasach AI, że to powinien być w ogóle przedmiot obowiązkowy w polskim systemie.
Więc tak, feminizm mamy na TOK-u, mamy na historii, mamy w psychologii i mamy też...
Geografii.
Geografii? i na filozofii, czyli 5 przedmiotów.
Tak.
W polskim systemie jest wzmianka na historii i też na WOS-ie, natomiast wiesz, jak tak spojrzymy na to i na to, to jest bardzo duża discrepancy, powiem po angielsku, taka rozbieżność, przepaść, że w polskim systemie ja mam takie wrażenie, zaraz będziemy przechodzić do tego angielskiego, jest to bardzo wąski materiał i konotacja niektórych słów bądź idea, jaka jest przekazywana, jest trochę inna. Tam się mówi o oporze, o ruchu, o masie. Są to mocne słowa z dosyć mocną konotacją i od tego chciałbym zacząć, no bo wiadomo, IB, to mamy tutaj na to inne spostrzeżenie. Chciałem zadać ci pytanie i tutaj przyjdziemy już, we're gonna do a smooth transition into English.
Yes.
Do you think the Polish education system is well prepared to teach about feminism?
Not at all. So my perspective is that even when I was in high school and even when I was an IB student, I never said about myself that I'm a feminist because I was so afraid of this word that it means something bad, something negative. And even though, for example, I was participating in Model UN, which is like this conference when you pretend you are the United Nations Council's members, you represent a state, and you have a list of topics, and you discuss those topics in councils. And I was always choosing Women's Rights Council because that was the topic that was the most interesting for me. But until I was 19 and after high school, and I was already a student at the university, I've never called myself a feminist because I was so afraid of this word. This negative connotations around it, all the stereotypes that if you're a feminist, you should be ugly, you hate men, you're aggressive towards, men and like family and so on. So I don't remember learning about feminism in the first grade of high school because IB is 2 years, the second and third
grade. Yeah.
Or in the middle school or primary school, not at all.
No. You call yourself a feminist in progress. What do you mean by this?
I mean that my perspective changes and it depends on also the moment in my life. I feel like some of the topics about feminism, I develop them as I grow, as I learn more about the society, about the inequalities in the society. So a few years ago, I was mostly interested in topics like young girls' empowerment, education, and like the getting the first job and pay inequality. That was like my main area of focus because I was also like in the situations, I was getting my first job in the corporate world and so on. And right now, as I'm preparing myself for like the role of a mother and motherhood, I get to like, I hear different perspectives on that and what are the issues when it comes to motherhood and like raising a child in 2025. And and I feel like, a lot of things in my mind is changing and I'm prioritizing different things.
And it's a learning curve. You develop as a person, so also your perspective changes.
Of course.
Muszę wam coś powiedzieć. Jeszcze niedawno byłem po prostu jednym z klientów Nikalab. Szukałem czegoś, co wesprze mnie na co dzień, będzie bezpieczne, przebadane, bez marketingowych bajek. No i trafiłem. Dziś jestem ambasadorem marki, która naprawdę robi niezłą robotę. Łączy wiedzę, praktykę i nowoczesne formuły tak, aby dbanie o siebie było w końcu proste i przyjemne. Moim game changerem okazała się formuła blasku. Suplement, dzięki któremu mam promienną skórę, a moje włosy są w końcu mocne. Dorzucam wam kod DAMIAN20. Jest dostępny również w opisie tego odcinka. Polecam. What is feminism to you then now? If you were to define it, how would you define it?
Now I feel it's like how to navigate the world and society in which women we have, let's say, almost the same rights. Of course, the reproductive rights is still something which is really poor and still a huge area for development
and improvement. Yeah.
improvement. But from like work, finance point of view, which was like the main goal in the last years of of the fight and of the movement, we really have we've done a great progress. We are more often students at the universities than men. Mm-hmm. We start to earn more and more money. The pay gap is getting smaller.
But it still exists.
Yeah, it still exists, but the progress is there, and we see there's a lot of women who really succeed in business, in corporate world, and in educational areas and so on. But how to navigate this change, because still woman is perceived as the main person who takes care of home and children mm-hmm. and household. Yeah. And I know so many exhausted women because they have to carry both of those things on their shoulders, because the man he thinks that he's only responsible for the money. Mm-hmm. And late capitalism, it made this system is making us, it requires from us having 2 incomes in household in order to to survive. So there is no ability to have one person who takes care of home and children, which is a full-time job, let's be real, and another person who only works. So we have two persons who have to work, but still household and children to take care of. And really, really often it's on women's shoulders, 2 of those things. And how to navigate now this and make a world where a man who is on paternity leave is not something exceptional, but something like regular.
This fight for equality, let me put it this way, didn't it lead to a situation where, exactly, as you said, there is 2 jobs that women do and 1 job that men does, but it looks better in narrative. You know what I'm trying to say?
So so you mean that the progress we've done is more of the issue for us than, it may be perceived that way. But I think the bigger issue in nowadays world is the fact that there is still a lot of women who is not financially independent. Mm-hmm. Because, in late capitalism, financial independence is the key to live fulfilling and safe mm-hmm. life. So I always say that one of the most important thing for a woman should be gaining this financial independence. And for me personally, this is my, my personal point of view. I don't imagine getting pregnant and having children without this financial independence.
Without the safety net.
Yes. Exactly. Even though, I trust my fiancé 100% and he's a great guy, and he's also a person who's fully on board with going on paternity leave.
And now let me interrupt you, because we're going to get on that. Because feminism also supports paternity leave.
Yeah.
Obviously. But men still, even though they have a chance, they very often decide not to go on paternity leave. Why is it the case?
I think there is this stereotype that a man cannot give the same level of emotional engagement towards a little child. And I think it's not true. Like, the only thing a man cannot give to a newborn baby is a breast milk.
That's a fact.
Let's be real. Of course, the way you decide to nurse your child is also your choice. You don't have to nurse it, with your breast milk. You can use the formula and it's fine. But this is the only thing that from biological point of view is impossible. Like, all of the engagement and being loving parent is not something that depends on our sex. Let's be real. But the stereotype is that only women can be this loving and this warm towards a little human being. So I think this is very hurtful towards men because it presents them as less sensitive, less
capable,
less empathetic people, which is totally not true. And it's something so gender-based stereotype.
There's also another thing that a man might decide not to go on paternity leave because what his other colleagues will say.
Oh yeah, exactly. I had this conversation with my fiance because right now I'm running 2 companies and he has the umowę o pracę, employment contract. Sorry. And from financial point of view, it's more beneficial for us that he will take all of the paternity leave that is available, because in Poland, you can, there's the 12 weeks of maternity leave, and then there's around 40 weeks of paternity leave.
40?
Like
14?
40. When you add this one to another, it's full year. So the bigger part, the paternity leave, it can be split between men and women, and men can take all of it.
Yet
So
they many times decide not to do it.
yeah, of course. It's over 95%, I think, is when a situation when woman takes it. And we had this conversation that it's beneficial for us that he will take the whole of the paternity leave. And we can actually be both at home for the first year after the child is born. And he was like, yeah, totally, I will do it. It's great. But 5 minutes later, he was like, I wonder what people at work will say, especially that he's an engineer. So
Male-based.
95% of his colleagues are male. And he even had this call from his boss because one of his colleagues actually did it. He took the whole of the paternity leave. And his boss called him because my fiancé is the manager of this colleague. And he was like, what the fuck is taking so long? Why is he on this leave for so long? What is going on? And my fiancé is like, he took the paternity leave, which is fully, he can do it. It's by the law for him there to take. And I was like, but why? He's a man. I was like, no, that's, wow, great.
Yeah. We talked about men. I want to get now more into that because feminism also challenges the stereotype that men shouldn't show emotion, that men shouldn't cry.
Yeah, boys don't cry.
But then many do hide their emotions, and then we look at suicide rates and we compare it, and it's 3 or 4 times bigger than female. So my question is, and it's a big question, if showing emotions saves lives, that's how I see it, why do we still teach boys to hide them?
I don't know if we still teach boys nowadays to hide them, because I feel like there's a big discussion going on around it. And when I look at my friends who have small little boys at home and they are raising them, they're doing a really great job at trying to, explain that it's okay to cry, it's okay to show emotions. But our generation
thinks that boys don't cry.
Yes, exactly. And, I don't know why, because I cannot really comprehend why we would do it. But I see how much damage it does, to relationships. Even I was in a relationship where, my ex-husband was not really capable of talking about emotions. And that was actually something that led to our split up. And
it affects the relationship.
Exactly. And, I was trying to get us to therapy and to talk to psychologists. And he was so afraid of going and talking about his emotions that he decided not to, and that cost us our marriage, So even when stakes are high, there's a lot of men who will never go to psychologists, to psychiatrists. They will never reach for help because they are so afraid of talking and embracing, the emotions and showing them.
They will be seen less as a male, maybe,
I think so.
by the society.
I think so.
Which is not true.
Of course. I think I love men who cry.
It's the hardest thing when a man can cry.
Yeah.
And shed a tear and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think.
Right now, after, this experience I had, and also watching my father, my stepfather, I cannot imagine being in a relationship with a person who cannot talk about what they feel. It's so important. And it's the absolutely basic, I think, skill of a relationship, and making sure that it's really mature and long-lasting. And it's so important also because I also had this experience when I was in my previous relationship that I was not sure if I wanted to have children as a 20-something-year-old. And right now I understand why. Because I was not feeling safe from this emotional point of view, that I knew my partner does not know how to speak and talk about his emotions. And I knew that the whole emotional load will be on my shoulders.
A burden, really.
That I will be the only person, the only parent for this potential child that will have to do the whole emotional work, because emotions are also, something that we, that can be really demanding for us and can be seen as work as well.
Yeah, and doing it single without the help of another parent is impossible.
Yeah.
You are a successful businesswoman. You've been listed in Forbes 25 under 25, and you started a femtech startup, Bestie.
And Forbes 30 under 30.
Really? Also?
Yeah.
Bestie, the first Polish producer of a menstrual disc designed using 3D technology.
That's correct.
Impressive.
Thank you.
I constantly feel a successful woman has to explain for herself for achievements she's done at work. So the question I have for you is, have you noticed that women have to justify for their success more than men at the career, I mean?
Yeah. I got a few comments after we launched Bestie, oh, it's so pinkish and girls' products. And you probably just get money from your husband. So of course, there is this stereotype that women will not be as successful in business as men. And it still is visible in the comments, in opinions and reviews. But also what I want to emphasize is that there is a lot of men who are also supportive, and right now we are in the process of negotiations with one of the biggest drugstore chains in Poland, and the leader of those negotiations from them is man, and he's so engaged and so excited and so appreciative of our work, even though we are talking about menstrual product, that I feel like he is the best feminist I met this year, seriously. And this is the kind of, representation we need and the kind of appreciation we need for, women business, especially considering the fact we have this menstrual category, which is still not, let's say, as safe as it should be from standards point of view, because I don't know if you knew, but in Poland and in European Union, tampons and pads manufacturers don't have the responsibility to showcase the ingredients of the product on the packaging. So when you go to buy like hygienic tissue, it has to have like the ingredients because it's considered as a cosmetic.
But it's not the case for tampons.
And pads. And tampons is something we insert into our vagina, into our body, into one of the most absorbent place in the human body. So there's still, a lot of work to be done, and we need, people who will support us in this work.
Będę gryzł teraz.
Dobra.
Mogę?
No.
Because I feel like many traditional traits, like caring, softness, right, which we assign to women, are treated less seriously, less competent. So the question I have is, has equality ended up meaning a woman is equal only when she behaves like a man?
Yeah, I think so, but it should not be that way. Because I feel like being empathetic, being sensitive towards inequalities and social issues and injustices is something we really, really need in nowadays society, because this is something that AI cannot do for us, let's say. And I don't think I want to aspire to being like a man, because I see there's a lot of flaws around it, like violence, for example, aggression, like wars. So, like wars is something really which comes from patriarchal society. So I feel like we need more of balance and finding a way to accumulate all of the best traits we can give. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a really tricky question. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't have answers for it.
And what do you think?
I want to live in the world where a woman can behave like a woman, but realistically speaking, I think she kind of needs to have this position of a strong
what
woman,
does it
right?
even mean to behave like a woman? What does it mean to behave like a man? Because I can see that when I enter a meeting, and it's a business meeting, for example, and in business, I'm really strict, I'm really demanding, and I see that a lot of people perceive me when I'm being those things as aggressive.
As a dangerous woman?
As not really behaving well. But I'm 100% sure that if I was a man in the situation, I would be a great leader. I would be a great manager. I would be a great startup founder.
And I think you answered the question for yourself now.
Yeah. We needed a minute for this question. But I would start with, what does it mean to behave like a man? What does it mean to behave like a woman? And how do we define it?
By society, which puts us in a certain box. Another thing I want to discuss is sisterhood.
Woohoo!
You talk about sisterhood. Po polsku powiemy co? Siostrzeństwo?
Siostrzeństwo.
No właśnie. Is English more inclusive than Polish when it comes to feminism? Because I've never heard of siostrzeństwo. Gryzę znowu.
I don't know. No, I've heard a lot about siostrzeństwo because I was also in those communication social media bubbles which were really discussing what siostrzeństwo means nowadays.
And what does it mean?
Definitely not that I have to support every woman no matter what, because I have the right to disagree, even though we are women and we, let's say, fight for equality and we want to be perceived as equal partners in society, let's say. But the way I disagree is important. So like when I discuss with another woman, with another human being, you know, like generally speaking, and someone is not sharing the same values as I do, it doesn't mean I have to show disrespect towards this person. I feel it's so important that we can exist in dialogue instead of only do the monologue and expect people to, you know, start agreeing with us. We have to be able to share different perspectives and learn from each other, because this is, I feel like sisterhood is also really connected with feminism in progress. It's really hard for me it may be hard for a person who grew up in a big city, in a household in which there was no issue with money, and I was able to go to IB and like learn English and travel a lot as a child.
It's a privilege.
It's a huge privilege. I will always have different issues when it comes to like feministic issues, let's say, than a woman who had only one bus a day to get to the bigger city, and her main struggle is to get to a gynecologist. Mm-hmm. When I had all of this, you know, like available even 24/7 in a big city. So I feel like a lot of fight between women is about not being able to understand those completely different perspectives and priorities which come with it. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest part of my feminism development was the ability to recognize those differences, and being able to talk about them and change the perspectives of people who were like, oh, it's not an issue, blah, blah, blah.
So it's about perspective. But sisterhood is kind of a solidarity, no? We could put the equal sign. But then, we often have a subtle competition in society between women, for example, over men. So where do we exactly draw the line between solidarity and this competition? Because women compete against each other also.
Yeah. We are great at competing, and there is also the fact that women towards other women are often really cruel, bitchy. It's also connected to feminism a little bit, because there is like this theory that after we got the opportunity to be seen in society and to enter it on like full terms, we started to compete with each other to get this place on stage. And we forgot that all of us can be on this stage. And we started to, you know, drag each other out from it. But about, you know, like competing, and for example, I see I feel it's connected to jealousy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like jealousy is an emotion which says a lot about our needs or something we miss in our lives. So when I see other women and I start to feel jealous, I ask myself, why do I feel jealous? Is she achieving something that is my dream as well? Did she had the privilege of the privilege that I didn't share, that I didn't have in my life? And I try not to convert this jealousy into negative actions, but more into positive ones, into motivation to achieve something that I really want, into like, or to change something in my life that is like making me feel bad. And I think the problem is that a lot of women cannot convert this jealousy into positive actions towards themselves, but they are being bitchy towards other women. But it's, again, about, like emotional intelligence, being able to be...
Which some people lack.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah, unfortunately, because it's not something we are taught at school. And if we don't get it at home from our parents, because, for example, our mother was like single mother and father was unavailable emotionally and physically, it's really, hard to get these lessons about, emotional intelligence. So I think this is also a topic that should be compulsory in school.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the history, right? When women were on stage, when there was a competition. I agree with that because it's systematic problem that there is just less place for ambition for them to be
yeah, exactly,
to be seen. I want to get back to education system because that's now what you brought up with patterns, and I totally agree that whatever we learn, we then acquire and we move it to relationships. But I do see discrepancy. Będę gryzł. Pink backpacks are reserved for girls. Blue backpacks are reserved for boys. Dziewczynkom nie wypada. So how is femininity portrayed in schools, in society? Duże pytanie. Big question, no?
No, I mean, colors are still like being perceived stereotypical, like pink. Okay.
I'm wearing a pink shirt.
Yeah, But I've never wore pink in school because there was also this stereotype that if you wear pink, you're a Barbie. You're not a serious person, I often talk with my girlfriends that we really feel like in our 20s and 30s, we got the pink back because right now we don't feel like color should define like who we are and how competent we are, and if you are feminine enough or masculine enough, like wear pink whenever you want, and it doesn't matter what sex you are. So, but in school you are being definitely like put into those boxes that boys should have blue or like colors which are not pink, basically, and girls wear pink. But I hope that it's also changing, and I see it from like my friends who have children, that they allow them to play with dolls. Like when there's a boy, he can play with dolls, he can play with whatever he wants to,
and a girl can play with a car.
Exactly. And it's so important because this doesn't close their minds into the box that a girl cannot be an astronaut or a race car driver, and a boy can be a
stylist.
I want to say costume. Yeah, exactly. So some people will say it's just toys, it's just color, but it's really programming how we think about our life later on. And our careers and what we think is possible for us.
Early education is almost entirely run by women. So we see it in kindergartens, in nurseries. I'm going to give you some data I found. The average salary of a caregiver in a public nursery, czyli żłobek, ranges from 3,000 to 3,700 zlotys.
Yeah.
Why does society trust women with this work and pay them so little? Because we also, the hypocrisy can also be a provocative question. Where does this leave men? Incapable of taking care of child at nursery? We can also look at it from this perspective, right?
Yeah, I can see a real internet drama going on if there was the nursery or kindergarten, which would be run fully by men, let's say. And there would be a lot of people who would say, how is this even possible? I don't trust this place. It's like provocative or something. Because as we mentioned, there is the stereotype that a man cannot give the same emotional affection and sensitivity and empathy and care towards a child as a woman can, which is completely not true. But it's also, we're coming back to the emotional intelligence, to ability to express and talk about emotions, to show them. And I really feel like this emotional work is like the biggest piece of work that has to be done by men in a nowadays society. And it will be really beneficial to all of us.
Pogryzę po raz ostatni. Because the question that really bothers me is, we talk about equality in professions, but some professions are exclusive for one gender. So where does it all lead?
Which do you have any example?
Nurseries.
Yeah. Or kopalnia. Jak jest kopalnia?
Mine.
Or mine.
Mine. Jak jest osoba, która pracuje w kopalni?
Miner?
Miner.
But like with mines, it's interesting, but there is a few women who work there. But historically, women wanted to work at mines, but they were forbidden as something that is dangerous for the reproductive health. Of course, there is the side of, okay, it's dangerous for reproductive health, but if there is a woman who knows that I don't want to get pregnant or have children, why should she be forbidden from doing this work, Nurseries, I don't know if it's forbidden by law, but definitely it's, let's say, forbidden in the heads of a lot of people that it would be allowed, to have a man working at nursery. But I wouldn't mind if someone have the
emotional capability.
Yeah, and also a diploma that says I can do this work. Why not? I think it's important to have diversity and different perspectives for a child.
I would like to end with two questions from your book. Feminizm. Dlaczego potrzebujemy feminizmu? The first one is: mamy prawo do własnych opinii, ale nie do własnych faktów. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. There are some facts that, from scientific point of view, that are just confirmed, and we cannot, Earth is not flat, like that. But some people think it's flat. Yeah, so that's my answer, basically.
And the second one?
Yeah.
Bycie dobrym lub złym kierowcą jest niezależne od płci i tego nie determinuje. Na tym zakończymy. Let's talk about drivers.
No, yeah, I mean, driving is a skill just like changing a diaper, like vacuuming, or I don't know, like playing basketball. And we learn it by doing it. And if we are afraid of doing it because of gender stereotypes, for example, while driving, I know a lot of women who feel really not confident because they are afraid of being,
beep tone.
Yeah. Or they are afraid of being too slow and other people, getting on their backs of the car and being aggressive, usually men, unfortunately. How this woman is supposed to learn this skill if she's afraid of the progress? And, the same, and I feel like it's a skill just as changing a diaper is. It's not like women are biologically better in changing a diaper than men because they are women. It's just the fact that they have been changing this diaper on the baby born doll when they were like 5 years old. And then they usually are the ones who do it when the real child appears in the family. And then men are like, oh, I don't know how to do it. You don't know how to do it because you've never done it. So that's it. So like with driving, I'm definitely, I'm sure that it's only about the hours spent behind the wheel and developing the skill and also, feeling confident. But confidence comes also from the progress you make.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dziękuję ci bardzo.
Dziękuję.
Piąteczka.